Revealed, how a hidden billionaire heir found amazing love while disguised as a simple employee. Jack Campbell's life seemed like a rags-to-riches tale frozen in time. To most, he was just a warehouse manager, working tirelessly at a family distribution company that seemed to be teetering on the edge of oblivion. Yet, beneath the surface of that steel and concrete building, Jack thrived in the heart of hard work, camaraderie, and laughter that echoed among his team. Each cup of coffee blended with dreams shared was a moment of gold. The air brought scents of damp cardboard and motor oil, where Jack felt more at home than anywhere else despite the scarcity lurking around every corner, but this story wasn't as simple as it seemed. The last thing anyone would suspect was that the genial man circulating among them was an heir to a billionaire fortune. Jack's father, a man with principles as firm as his handshake, had taught him that wealth could rot the soul. Jack honored that legacy, choosing to forego the comforts of family riches for the satisfaction that came from sweat and toil. As Jack stood one afternoon, organizing boxes with deft precision, piercing whispers filled the warehouse. Rumors of impending layoffs buzzed like 1,000 angry bees. The fear hung low over his loyal team, dragging their spirits down. Jack felt that tightening in his chest that arrived whenever he sensed despair. He wished he could assure them that everything would be okay, but those words felt as heavy as lead. Their hopes were anchored in his optimism, when Emma entered his life, a local waitress with a fiery spirit that glittered like the city lights. Each interaction with her was like a jolt of freshly brewed coffee. Her dreams of creating a community center to uplift disenfranchised youth resonated with the same rhythm Jack lived by helping others. But here, a shadow loomed over Jack's heart. What if she knew the truth? Would the truth break the joyous bubble they created together? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the weeks rolled on, the storm clouds over their company gathered darker, and anxiety layered itself thick like the fog around a small town. Jack's internal struggle weighed heavy. He saw himself morph into the mysterious rich guy who was rumored to be saving the company. Would they still admire his humility once they uncovered the truth? Would Emma see him, or only the money? And then, like a punch to the gut, disaster struck. A storm battered a nearby neighborhood, leaving families broken and displaced. Jack thrust himself into action, grabbing supplies and rallying the crew. The sight of shattered lives before him shook him to his core, and he felt the urgency of the call when he rushed through the doors. But as Jack took those steps, his heart raced with every beat. Could he carry the weight of the truth? Would he dare to let go of the disguise he wrapped himself in like extra insulation against the cold judgments of society? It was a moment of reckoning. A choice awaited him. As he stood at this crossroads, he couldn't help but wonder if the values he clung to would be strong enough in a world that constantly pressed for more. In the distance, the wreckage of lives awaited, and with it came a question louder than thunder. Was he ready to step into the light, or would he stay hidden forever? Jack took a deep breath as he stepped out into the chaos. The storm had passed, leaving behind not just wind and rain, but ruin and heartache. The streets heaved with debris, and the faces around him were marred by shock and desperation. But amidst this unsettling scene, he felt a spark ignite within him. He could help. It was a mission that felt bigger than himself, an opportunity to give everything he had, even amidst his fears. "All right, team," he called out, his voice cutting through the murmurs of anxiety. A few heads turned, and a flicker of hope sparked in their eyes. "Grab what you can. We're going to the worst hit spots and we're going to show these folks they're not alone." They moved with purpose, loading up vehicles with anything they deemed useful: clothes, food, blankets. Jack could see his loyal crew rallying around him, their apprehensions momentarily drowned in a wave of camaraderie. Among them, he spotted Emma, her spirit undeterred by the chaos. She was already sorting donations, her energy lifting those around her like a warm sun breaking through the clouds. "Where do you need me?" she asked, her voice steady, determined. Jack felt a rush of gratitude. In a world filled with uncertainty, here was one constant, her unwavering support. They worked side by side, the air buzzing with a mix of urgency and hope. Every smile shared, every laugh exchanged, felt like a promise, a reminder that they were united in this struggle. As they delivered supplies to families, Jack watched as Emma connected with the locals. The way she listened, the way genuine compassion radiated from her, he felt a pull in his chest. This was what he admired most about her, the light she brought into dark places. But as Jack handed out blankets to a mother with tears in her eyes, that nagging doubt wormed its way back into his mind. What would happen when the truth surfaced? Would Emma still see him as the man she connected with, or would the legacy he hid behind twist their bond into something false? The afternoon sun began to set, casting golden hues against the rumble of the city. As they descended from a makeshift donation center, Jack found himself alongside Emma in a moment of stillness. The two stood side by side, watching families begin to smile, rekindling hope with every piece of aid shared. "Jack," Emma started, turning to him with her earnest gaze. "What you're doing, it's incredible. You're inspiring all of us." He swallowed hard, the weight of her words crashing into him. The irony grated. She was seeing the good he did, but it was built on a lie, a truth he continuously shielded. "I'm just doing what anyone else would do in my position," he replied, a lump bobbing in his throat. "No," she countered, her intensity widening. "Not everyone would do this. I can feel you care deeply about people, and that's rare." Her sincerity thrilled him, but also terrified him. Here he was, a hidden billionaire playing the role of a hero, and all the while, a part of him longed to unmask himself. Jack could hear the clock ticking, every moment he spent pretending pulled him away from finding true connection. As they rounded a corner, Jack's heart pounded. It was time to make a decision. Should he reveal himself to Emma, the woman who stirred deep feelings inside him? Or would he risk losing everything by exposing his true identity, potentially ruining what they had built? In that moment, as Emma looked back at him with that light in her eyes, he knew the stakes just got higher. What would happen when she discovered the truth? And could he really hide in the shadows any longer? The evening air grew cooler as shadows stretched across the pavement, wrapping the world in a cocoon of uncertainty. Jack glanced at Emma, her profile illuminated by the dim light spilling from nearby street lamps. She was still buzzing with enthusiasm, chatting with a group of displaced residents who shared their stories, and he couldn't help but admire the way she connected with them. But as he watched her, the weight of his secret pressed heavier against his chest. Every laugh they exchanged felt like a thread binding them closer, but every unspoken truth hovered like an uninvited guest. Jack knew the moment was approaching. He had to choose between the thrill of this new bond and the shadows of his past. "Jack." Emma's voice broke through his spiraling thoughts, and he turned to see her looking at him with curious eyes. "What are you thinking about?" Caught off guard, he smiled, although it felt forced. "Just how grateful I am to be here. To help." "Helping isn't just a duty," she said, her tone earnest. "It's a privilege. You're showing everyone that they matter. They're not alone." He wanted to honor that sentiment, to agree completely, but the truth gnawed at him. "Emma," the words lodged in his throat, and he faltered. "Hey, let's take a break for a second," she suggested, motioning towards a nearby bench. Gathering his courage, he followed her. As they sat, the distant sounds of the city faded, leaving only the rustling leaves and the occasional laughter of children playing in the street. The atmosphere was thick with potential. Jack could feel it. She was waiting for him, perhaps sensing that he needed to share something. He took a deep breath, recalling all the reasons he pushed his identity into the dark corners of his mind. "Listen, Emma," he began, the very air feeling charged. "There's something I haven't told you." Before he could go further, a loud crash echoed from down the street, pulling their attention. A car had overturned, scattering debris everywhere. Jack jumped to his feet, adrenaline surging through him. "We need to help." Emma's eyes widened with determination. "Let us go." They raced toward the commotion, the seriousness of the moment eclipsing his internal struggle. Strains of panic filled the air as people rushed to assist, forming a human chain to right the vehicle. Jack felt the crowd pulling him in his instinct to protect, to assist, overriding his need for honesty. "Call 911. Emma shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. She was already at a roadside, helping guide those affected, her hands steady and strong. Jack admired her courage, but even as he threw himself into the effort, a part of him felt fractured, torn between two worlds. After the immediate danger was resolved, they found a corner to catch their breath. Jack was still in work mode, heart racing. But Emma was shaking slightly, her earlier composure showing cracks. "You all right?" he asked gently, putting a hand on her shoulder, feeling her warmth. I think so," she stammered. But he could see the fear lingering in her eyes. "Just a lot to process. This is such a chaotic night." "Yeah," he nodded, not wanting to overwhelm her with his own turmoil. But the world felt heavy with unfinished conversations. "Jack, you seem distant again. What's really going on?" His heart raced. He had another chance. Yet, staring into her eyes, he hesitated, an all-consuming fear wrapping around him. Would this be the moment to come clean? Just as he felt ready to confess, a man approached from the crowd. "Is anyone here a doctor?" he shouted, face pale. Jack's thoughts spiraled. They needed to get involved. There were lives at stake. Didn't she deserve to know who he was, now more than ever? At that deep moment of uncertainty, he realized he had to make a choice, not just about revealing the truth, but about standing by Emma in her moment of need. As they sprang into action together, knowing they would face whatever came next side by side, he felt the inevitable pull of fate. But something was about to change the course of their already complicated lives forever. What would it be? And could he really harness the strength inside him to finally break free from his hidden world? The chaos seemed to swirl around them, like a storm threatening to engulf it all. Jack felt the adrenaline coursing through his veins as he followed Emma, their lives entwined in a moment that demanded courage. She moved with purpose, and he fell in step beside her, every instinct kicking in. As they approached the injured man, Jack's heartbeat pounded in his ears. A crowd had gathered, their expressions a mixture of concern and urgency. The man lay on the ground, a deep gash on his forehead, blood seeping into the pavement. "Hold on, we've got help coming." Emma's voice sliced through the noise. She knelt beside him, checking for responsiveness. Jack watched her hands, steady and purposeful. It struck him then, this woman who battled chaos so gracefully, who seemed like a beacon of strength in times of crisis. "Can you hear me?" Emma knelt closer, focusing entirely on the man. He grunted, a flicker of awareness in his eyes. "Get him stabilized," Jack said, instinctively taking charge. He reached for his backpack, pulling out a first aid kit. It turned out he had packed one just in case, but it felt like fate. As he handed supplies to Emma, their fingers brushed. Something electric surged through him, igniting feelings he had tucked away. Jack shook off the distraction, forcing himself to focus. "Stay with us," Emma urged, applying pressure to the man's forehead. Jack glanced around, spotting a bystander whose anxiety mirrored his own. "Someone call 911. He bellowed, wanting to create order amid the chaos. A couple of people scrambled to grab their phones, but others remained frozen, the shock of the situation keeping them rooted in place. Jack turned back to Emma, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Are you okay?" he whispered, trying to connect amid the frantic energy. "I'm fine," she breathed, her gaze locked on the injured man. But he could see the tremor in her hands, the way she fought to hold her composure. Just then, headlights flashed in the distance. Sirens wailed louder, and Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him. Help was on the way. He caught Emma's eyes, and for a brief moment, all the noise faded. That was when it hit him: being brave didn't always mean saying the right words or being perfect. Sometimes it was about showing up, supporting each other in the messiness of life. And, in that reckoning, he understood the weight of his hidden truth like never before. As the medics rushed to assist, Jack's heart sank. Time was running out. With each passing second, he felt the pull of secrets urging him to reveal everything. But how could he when the world around them was still spinning out of control? "Emma," he said, his voice barely reaching above the sirens, "there is something important I need to tell you." Before he could finish, the injured man groaned again, drawing Emma's full attention back to him. She worked quickly, unfazed by the chaos now boiling around them. Jack wanted to reach out, to pull her close and confess, but he realized the truth demanded the right moment. As they watched the medics lift the man onto a stretcher, Jack felt a rush of fear and hope. What if revealing himself opened new doors? What if it pushed Emma away? Moments later, the crowd began to disperse, the sense of urgency waning. Jack caught Emma's eye again. "Let us talk later," he suggested, anxiety gnawing at him. She nodded, but there was something in her expression, curiosity mixed with concern. They needed this conversation, and soon. As they walked away from the scene, their unspoken connection deepened, mingled with the excitement of what lay ahead. Jack could feel the weight of his secret pressing on their bond, but with each step forward, he clenched his fists in determination. Their worlds had been thrown together by an unpredictable fate, but could he face his truth before it pushed her away? The challenge of vulnerability loomed large, a mountain to climb before dawn would break. And as they moved into the night, one thought burned in his mind: what would happen when they finally confronted the shadows of their pasts together? The streets felt quieter now, the sirens fading into the distance as Jack and Emma walked side by side. He glanced at her, the tension on her face still evident. The adrenaline of the moment was wearing off, replaced by a heavy buzz of uncertainty. "That was something," he finally said, breaking the silence. "You were amazing." Emma stopped and turned to him, her eyes searching his. "I just did what anyone would do. But I couldn't think straight. I was scared." "Scared?" Jack's heart twisted at the vulnerability that flickered across her features. "You were strong. You saved him." She shrugged slightly, looking down at her hands. "I don't know, Jack. Sometimes it feels like I'm just pretending to be steady when I'm really not." He wanted to tell her that she didn't have to pretend around him. He felt the same way, like he was two people trapped in one body. One that craved connection and the other that hid in the shadows of past mistakes. It was a truth that clawed at him, begging for light. "Emma," he started, his voice softening. "I know, let us talk about you." She jumped in, urgency etched in her features. "You looked like something was bothering you back there. I could see it. What were you trying to say?" He opened his mouth to speak, but in that moment, her concern felt like a spotlight aimed right at him. That pressure felt both comforting and overwhelming. The words hung in the air, electrified with possibility and dread. I just wanted to say that he took a deep breath, willing his heart to stop racing. "There is something important I need to share with you about who I am. Who you are." Emma's voice was barely above a whisper now, the weight of his words sinking in. Her expression shifted, intrigue battling against caution. "Jack, it's okay. You can tell me." He hesitated, seeing her sincerity radiate. But doubt crept back in. What if revealing himself only pushed her away? What if this difficult conversation became yet another way to fail? "Not here," he replied, shaking his head. "Let us find somewhere quieter." They wandered through a nearby park, the moonlight filtering through the trees, casting shadows that danced around them. A bench sat empty beneath a flowering dogwood, and he led her there, glancing at the stars above, each one a tiny spark of hope, yet a reminder of the vastness of what lay ahead. As they settled onto the bench, Jack's chest tightened. He needed to say something meaningful, to break down the barriers that he had set up. Emma, the truth is I'm not who you think I am. There's so much more to me than this. Just tell me, she urged, her gaze locked on his with intensity. Whatever it is, I can handle it. He looked into those deep, determined eyes that held so much promise. Would she still look at him like that once he laid it all bare, once she confronted the reality of his life? He swallowed the lump in his throat. Okay, he said slowly. But remember, this might change everything. Are you ready for that? Emma took a deep breath, nodding slowly. As long as you are honest with me. In that electric moment, he realized that perhaps, just perhaps, there was strength in vulnerability. Perhaps their connection had the power to weather this storm, to transform the chaos swirling inside him. All right, here goes, but before he could unveil the truth, a figure emerged from the shadows, a man with a familiar strut, one Jack never thought he'd see again. His heart dropped. This could change everything, even more than the confession he was about to make. What would happen now? Jack! There you are. The man called, a smirk plastered across his face, and Jack felt the weight of his world about to tilt once more. Jack's breath caught in his throat. The familiar voice sent a chill down his spine, and for a moment, he felt trapped, like a deer in headlights. The man approaching them had an air of confidence that was almost humiliating, a reminder of the life Jack had tried so desperately to distance himself from. Luke, Jack managed to say, his voice barely a whisper. What are you doing here? Just came to find you, bro. Heard some major drama was going down. Thought you wouldn't miss any of it. Luke's smirk widened as he scanned Jack and Emma. Looks like you two have been having quite the adventure tonight. Emma's eyes darted between the two men, sensing the unspoken tension. Jack, who is this? She asked softly, a hint of concern creeping into her voice. This is Luke, Jack said hesitantly. We used to, well, we weren't the best of friends. Used to? Luke mocked, his laughter echoing through the night air. See on, Jack, don't pretend you haven't missed me. We've got some unfinished business to take care of. His eyes twinkled with mischief as he tipped a nod toward Emma. And who's this lovely lady? Your new simple employee cover. Jack felt the heat rising to his face. She's not part of this. But the way Luke's grin widened made Jack's insides churn. Doubling down on the deception felt impossible. Oh. Then why don't you introduce us properly? Luke leaned against a nearby tree, arms crossed, an excited sparkle in his eyes like he was watching a tense drama unfold. Emma, this is Luke. He's part of my past, Jack said, unsure how to present the truth without risking everything. Interesting choice of words, Luke interjected, looking at Emma with feigned innocence. But I see Jack's been keeping secrets. The kind that make a guy wonder what else he's hiding. Jack couldn't shake the sense of vulnerability that filled the air, mingling with confusion and fear. What do you want, Luke? He asked, his voice stronger, resolved not to let the past engulf him again. I thought you might want to come back for a little family gathering, Luke said nonchalantly, though the glint in his eye held deeper implications. Our father wants to see you. It's important and I've been saving a spot for you in the family business. Family? Jack echoed, his voice sharpening. The word felt foreign, like a haunting specter over his sense of identity. I'm not interested. That's not what it sounded like when you stormed out of the mansion, Luke challenged, taking a step closer. But hey, maybe that was just your cover story. Disguised as a simple employee, right? Emma looked between them, her brows furrowing in confusion. Jack, what is going on? Jack's heart raced, panic flooding him. How was he going to explain this tangled history? This wasn't just about his past, it was about losing everything he had carved out for himself alongside Emma, a life he had fought hard to build, far removed from wealth and privilege. I can't go back, Jack finally said, more to Luke than Emma. I've made choices. I've chosen something real, something that matters. Luke's eyes sparkled with a mix of challenge and amusement. Choices? Or just hiding? I think long and hard about what you really want, Jack. Running away won't last. The shadows deepened around them, wrapping Jack in a swirl of emotions: fear, regret, a flicker of hope. Emma's presence felt like a beacon, but now, with Luke's intrusion, everything was at risk. What are you going to do? Emma's voice broke through, dipping into concern. You don't have to face this alone, Jack. The weight of her words sank in. Could he really open up? Was there a chance to have this conversation even with everything now spinning out of his grasp? I need to, he said quietly, heart racing. But it's not just about me anymore. As Jack met Emma's determined gaze, he knew the path ahead was complicated, but stepping back wasn't an option. He would have to choose between facing his past and the chance of a future with Emma, but what if his choices led to losing her? Jack's mind raced as he met Emma's gaze. Her expression was a mixture of concern and determination, and he knew he had to be honest with her. But how could he tell her about the life he had left behind, a life torn apart by expectations he had wanted no part of? Emma, I didn't just leave because I wanted to escape, he began, his voice trembling with emotion. There were reasons. Big ones. My father, he's not a man you can just walk away from. He's controlling and ruthless. The family business, it's not what you think. It's built on power plays and manipulation. Luke chuckled, leaning in with a smug look. You act like you're the victim here, Jack. You could have it all back. The money, the power. Family aside, you'd step right back into the spotlight. Don't you miss it? Miss it? Jack's voice rose, startling the nearby crickets into silence. I don't miss the pressure, the expectations, the feeling that I was never good enough unless I played their game. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. This life I've built with Emma, it's real. It's freeing. Luke rolled his eyes, dismissing Jack's words. Whatever helps you sleep at night, brother. But let us not pretend this one come back to bite you. You think they'll just let you go? You have a ticket waiting for you, one that won't expire. Emma stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on Jack's arm. You're brave for what you've chosen, Jack. But running from your past won't make it disappear. Maybe it's time to confront it. Jack's heart sank. She was right, of course. But what if confronting it meant stepping back into a world that would destroy everything he cared about? Emma, I can't drag you into this. You don't deserve the drama that comes with my family, he urged, desperation lacing his words. Look at what Luke's already done. Can you imagine what my father would do if he knew? This isn't just about us anymore. It's about my whole lineage. Luke laughed loudly, enjoying the tension. Come on, Jack. You can't be serious. She can handle it. But I get it, losing your courage when faced with the reality of your roots is pretty common. Let's face it, you'll never escape who you are. Jack felt a rush of anger surge through him. I'm not ashamed of who I am now. I left that life for a better one. A life with meaning. A life with Emma. Emma squeezed his arm, grounding him. Her presence reminded him of why he had fought so hard to leave it behind. Yet, Luke's words lingered in the air, taunting him. Are you really willing to turn your back on your family for this? Luke continued, his voice a seductive whisper. What happens when it all catches up to you? It always does, you know. Every choice has consequences. Jack closed his eyes, trying to block out Luke's voice. Guilt and fear loomed over him like heavy clouds. We can't let him win, he said, opening his eyes to Emma, searching for reassurance in her own. I refuse to live in fear. That's not a life worth living. Then stand up for yourself. Emma's voice was steady, but there was something in her eyes that made Jack's stomach twist. But let me in. Don't shut me out. I can't help you if you want to let me. Jack felt torn. Could he risk sharing everything, or would that push Emma further away? He stuttered, uncertain. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the nearby woods, sending a jolt of adrenaline through the air. What was that? Emma gasped, her eyes wide with fear. Jack instinctively shielded her, ready to face whatever was coming. But not before that nagging thought crept back. Confronting his past could very well bring more than he bargained for. Whatever it is, I want to let it take you from me, he promised, heart racing even faster. But as the noise grew louder, Jack wondered, could he really protect her when the shadows of his past were so close? What would happen if the truth came crashing down? Jack's heart raced as the crashing sounds grew closer, branches snapping like dry twigs underfoot. His instincts kicked in, urging him to protect Emma, who stood firm beside him, her expression a blend of fear and bravery. Stay behind me, he whispered, taking a step forward, ready to confront whatever threat lay in the shadows. A silhouette emerged, dark and hulking against the moonlit backdrop. Jack's pulse quickened. The figure stumbled into view, revealing a man with wild eyes and a tattered jacket. It wasn't he an animal or some monstrous threat, just a disheveled stranger with an unkempt beard. Help! Please! The intruder cried, falling forward onto his knees, hands raised in surrender. I need help. They're coming for me. Emma stepped forward, her compassion shining through as she said, What happened? Who's coming for you? Honestly, I don't know. The man gasped, his breaths coming in quick, ragged gulps. I was just passing through when I saw them. They were after me. I stole something I shouldn't have. Stole. Jack felt a mix of curiosity and dread. The adrenaline still pumped through him, urging him to make sense of the unfolding chaos. Stole what? Money. A bag of cash. The man sputtered, glancing over his shoulder, eyes wide with panic. I had to run. I had to hide. They're powerful people, and I can't let them find me. Jack exchanged a worried look with Emma, her brow furrowed, eyes scanning the tree-line as if expecting figures to emerge at any moment. Fear twisted in his stomach. Could this be a warning? A harbinger of the chaos he had fought so hard to escape. Why come here? Jack asked, his voice tense. You're putting both of us in danger. Please. The man's voice cracked. I didn't know who else to trust. I thought maybe this place could be safe. Emma stepped closer to Jack, her hand gripping his. Jack, he needs our help. What if he is telling the truth? We can't just leave him here. The man's desperation was palpable. Jack could see how it mirrored his own past struggles. But his instincts screamed caution. Who were those people chasing you? He pressed, trying to buy time. Just all I know is they work for someone big. Someone ruthless. Luke watched the scene unfold, his smirk replaced by a calculating look. You really want to get involved in this mess, Jack? This is your chance to back away. Look at what's on the line. Jack swallowed hard, torn between his desire to protect Emma and the creeping dread in his gut. We can't just turn our backs on him. This man needs help. If we don't do something, we might regret it. Emma's resolve gave him strength. She said softly, together. We can figure this out together. But as Jack stared into the stranger's eyes, he couldn't shake the feeling that helping him might unravel everything they had worked so hard to build. Was this man just a victim caught in a web of crime, or was he a part of something far darker? Luke feigned concern. Are you really willing to take that risk? To drag Emma into this situation? What if it's just a scheme? Jack gritted his teeth, the weight of the moment heavy on his chest. The sounds of the forest had fallen eerily silent, as if the world awaited his response. Could he turn away from the chaos? We can't wait any longer. I'm not leaving him to face them alone, he decided, looking at Emma, silently gauging her support. But deep down, a whisper echoed through his thoughts. What if this was just the beginning? What if the truth of his family began to unravel right here, right now? As the moon hung low, casting shadows that blended with uncertainty, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that the echoes of his past were about to collide with the present in a way he could never have anticipated. "Get ready," he said quietly, gripping Emma's hand. "I don't think this is going to go the way we hope." What secrets could the stranger reveal, and how far would Jack have to go to protect the life he cherished? The silence hung heavily in the air, punctuated only by the stranger's ragged breaths. Jack's heart hammered in his chest as he processed the desperation spilling from the man's lips. Emma's hand, warm and reassuring in his, felt like the last solid anchor amidst a storm. "What is your name?" Emma asked, her voice steadier than Jack felt. "Tyler," he managed, still huddled on the forest floor, surveying the dark like a hunted animal. "I swear, I didn't mean to save it," Jack snapped, the tension curling around his words. "Why were they after you? What did you see?" Tyler took a shuddering breath, his eyes darting as if the shadows themselves were whispering secrets. "I was at a bar at dive on the edge of town. I found a bag. I thought it was just drug money. Well, I should have known better. It had a name on it." "What name?" Jack pressed, feeling the weight of the world shift as he sensed a deeper danger looming. "Martin. A big shot developer." That bag was supposed to be a payment for something Tyler swallowed, words lodged in his throat like shards of glass. The kind of payment that leads to violence. Jack's gut twisted. Was this connected to his past? One might think he had washed his hands of her family's dealings, but hints of old ties loomed before him, threatening to wrap him up once again. Emma stepped in closer, her eyes steady, filled with empathy. "What do you mean violence, Tyler?" "They have people. People who don't care who they hurt." Tyler shuddered and looked over his shoulder again. "I saw things. They kill to protect their money. They come after anyone who's a witness." Emma's voice trembled, concern etched across her features. "Maybe we should go to the police. They can help him. We need to be careful." "No." Tyler interjected, panic flooding his tone. "That's exactly what they want. If I go to the cops, they'll find me. I'd put you both in danger. I just need a place to hide for a little while." Jack hesitated. Every instinct told him to flee, to run with Emma and leave this chaos behind. But there was something in Tyler's eyes, something that echoed his own fear and helplessness from years gone by. He could feel the past creeping back, demanding attention. "We can't keep him with us," Luke chimed in, his voice sharp as a knife. "You don't know him. He could lead you straight into a trap." "So what? We just let him go?" Emma exclaimed, heart pounding. "Isn't that what we're fighting against? Turning our backs on someone in need?" The forest felt like it was closing in, shadows shifting ominously. Jack's heart weighed heavily in the balance, pulled tight between protecting Emma and diving into the unknown chaos that Tyler represented. "We'll keep you hidden for now," Jack finally said, his voice steadier as he sought out Emma's reassuring gaze. "But we need to know everything. Who were those people? What exactly did you see?" Tyler looked wary, glancing around as if the very trees had ears. "They're tied to something much bigger. It's not just a simple case of stolen cash. It's part of something sinister, something that could destroy lives." Jack's stomach nodded. The idea that they were dipping into a world of treachery set off alarm bells in his mind. But then there was Emma with her unwavering belief that sometimes the only way out was through the heart. "Let us find a place to talk," he said, trying to push fear aside, leading the way with Emma close. They were stepping deeper into the unknown, like stepping off a cliff and hoping for wings, but as they moved, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that every step they took further into this forest was one step closer to digging up the buried past. The secrets kept safe for years now hung around them like a thick fog. Suddenly, the snapping of branches echoed nearby, a harsh reminder that danger could be just behind the trees, ready to pounce. "Get down!" he shouted, yanking Emma close, heart racing at the thought that maybe they were trapped in their own choices. Then they heard a low growl coming from the encroaching darkness, and Jack knew they were not alone out here. What had they just invited into their lives, and how much was he willing to risk to protect Emma from what lay ahead? Jack's heart thundered in his chest, the primal instinct to protect Emma taking over as he shielded her from whatever lurked in the shadows. The growl echoed ominously, pouring icy fingers of fear down his spine. He glanced at Emma, her eyes wide with fear but also fierce determination. Together, they were stronger, and for the first time, Jack realized that diving into chaos for the sake of another was filled with as much courage as it was fear. "Stay low," he whispered, steadying his breath as he surveyed their surroundings. The rustling from the underbrush grew louder, and a fleeting shadow shifted just out of reach. Jack's mind raced. Could Tyler really put them in danger? Or was he just a victim caught up in something far bigger than himself? They turned to Tyler, who seemed just as frightened. "Whatever you saw, whatever is pursuing you, this isn't just about you anymore. It could affect all of us," Jack said, his voice steady but urgent. Tyler nodded, understanding the stakes. "I can help," the man pled. "I know how to hide. I know the ins and outs of this area. But you have to trust me." Jack felt Emma's hand squeeze his, her warmth grounding him even as panic surged. "What do we do?" she asked, anxiety lacing her voice. Before Tyler could respond, the growl came again, low and reverberating, though from where he couldn't tell. Jack's instincts kicked in again, and he grabbed Emma's hand, pulling her close as they backed away from the noise. "We need to move. Now." They darted toward the cover of trees, the shadows wrapping around them like an embrace. The whisper of branches overhead mixed with the rustling of leaves, creating an atmosphere thick with tension. They needed to find safety, and fast. As they maneuvered deeper into the woods, the reality of Jack's situation crashed down around him like an avalanche. His past was no longer something he could sidestep. It was like a relentless tide, pulling him into depths he thought he had escaped. If he dared to confront it now, what would happen to Emma? "Jack, are we safe?" Emma asked, her voice a breathless whisper, the moonlight barely illuminating her features, but he could see the remnants of fear etched on her face. "We will be," he said, trying to muster conviction he wasn't entirely sure he felt. "As long as we stick together." They maneuvered around thick knots of roots and fallen branches, Jack leading the charge, instinctively wanting to shield her from danger. In that moment, he realized that whether or not he had wealth nor recognition, what mattered most was their connection, a bond forged in authenticity and purpose. Eventually, they reached a small clearing beneath a gnarled oak. The moon peeked through the branches, casting silvery light that felt almost sacred as they caught their breath. Jack turned to Tyler, determination firm in his gaze. "Now, tell us everything." Tyler took a deep breath, glancing around as if the shadows themselves listened. "There's more to those after me. They're involved in something dark, a construction project that falls on the wrong side of the law. Developers bribing officials, trying to push people out of their homes to build profit. I got too close, stumbled onto something I shouldn't have." Jack felt the color drain from his face. Wealth, power, these were the undercurrents that had haunted his life. "And what does that mean for us?" "It means there are people who won't stop until they silence anyone who knows," Tyler shrugged. "And if they get wind of you about who you really are, they'll come for you too." The air hung heavy, and Jack's stomach sank deeper than he thought possible. He turned to Emma, her expression mingling worry with fierce resolve. Together, she whispered softly, as if trying to reassure not just him, but herself. Jack nodded, the connection they shared blazing brighter than the fears that threatened to consume him. "I won't let them hurt you. Or anyone else," he vowed. The tension shifted, they had to act. The shadows were restless around them, and Jack knew it was a matter of time before danger would find them. They had to expose the truth behind Tyler's claim, confront the people that loomed in the shadows, while perhaps finally confronting Jack's own hidden past. "We need to gather information, find a way to expose this," he said, his determination swelling. "For Tyler, for the people losing their homes, and for ourselves. We'll face this together." Emma's grip tightened, and Jack felt strength radiate from her grounding presence. For too long, he had felt the burden of his inheritance weigh him down. But maybe now, with Emma and Tyler by his side, he could reclaim a part of his life he thought he'd lost. As he readied himself to face the storm, the swirling chaos of emotion began to settle. One step after the other, they would dive into this unknown abyss together, and perhaps out of the darkness, new possibilities awaited them. "Let us go," Jack said, heart racing with purpose, not just for himself but for all the lives at stake. They moved forward in a rhythm that felt right, a unified force as they turned hope into action, and as they stepped into the unknown, hand in hand, Jack knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. No more secrets, no more hiding, the truth would set them free. Now it was time to act. That if you felt the connection, if you saw the courage to stand true, then this is your moment. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive story. Leave a like now to feed that algorithm and keep this community growing. We want to hear from you. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this wild ending. And share instantly with at least 5 friends who you think need this transformation in their lives. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand how important your support is for this channel.